Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. It's Mother's Day 2023, but it's also the Sunday on a big Irish weekend, which has been absolutely amazing. We had St. Paddy's Day on Friday, then we had the Six Nations, the finale of the Six Nations rugby yesterday. And who won? Who won? Ireland won. Of course they did. Ireland won. France came second. Scotland came third. Scotland came third out of 6. But that means they are the best of the rest. But Ireland, and don't forget, my mother is Irish. Mum, happy Mother's Day. Big kilt mama. Cheers, you all. She doesn't like whiskey. I do apologise for that, mother, but your wayward son and his alcoholic ways, there's no stopping them. What's going on there? Some kind of freakish light show. Let me sort that out forthwith. Anyway, folks, so yeah, it's a crazy, very sort of Guinness flavoured weekend. Guinness and whiskey. Ooh, what a combination. And it's been kind of chaotic. Now, to go along with the Irish theme, I have been saying I was going to do a slew of Irish sort of folklore fantasy movies. I'll give you the rundown. Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which I think you'll find is going to take place right here, right now. And then Unwelcome, a new one. And then The Hallowed, or The Hallow, slightly new, still newish. And when else was there? The Banshees of Inisherin, and I'm sure there was something else. Hey, but we'll leave it in the lap of the luck of the Irish. So, now, Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Some of you who've seen the previous videos know that I tried to watch this at the back end of St. Paddy's Day after a right royal free-for-all. It was a Freedom Friday. It was also King Kurt Russell's birthday as well. And it was Paddy's Day. So me and the dog were out and about. And yeah, when we arrived back home, I had every intention of watching Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which was sent to me by our good friend from the Emerald Isle, Captain Ronnie. And he said, you've got to watch this. He and the family watch it all the time, and they missed up with it all, you know, at a certain emotional high points, but they love it. It's a family fantasy, and he said, you've got to watch it. Now, my mum, being Irish, gave me a love of movies, and totally embraced it. Again, I know I don't want to go over all the old stories again, but of course that's what the Irish do. They regale the same tales over and over and over and over and over and over again, with some slight embroidery each time. And but she never really told me any sort of folklore stories. My dad, being the Scottish brigade of our family, he told me loads of Scottish folklore. But my mum didn't tell me anything about the little people, the fairy folk, you know, the leprechauns and all this, the pot of gold. I didn't get any of that from her. None of it. A lot of old blarney I got from her, to be honest. But anyway, so this was a new film to me. I knew of the film. It's a Walt Disney production from 1959, released in the UK in 1960. And it stars a young Sean Connery, just before he became James Bond. Oh yes, Miss Moneypenny. He became 007. In this, it's not filmed for any kind of authenticity in Ireland. Oh no, it's filmed on the Disney backlot with some tiny bit of location work in the San Fernando Valley. But it doesn't matter one iota. It is a family favourite, I know. It's got some, well, for their time, great special effects. And it is a Disney live action movie. And it is based on some old folklore stories by, hang on a moment, by H.T. Kavanagh, or Kavanagh, and she wrote lots of Irish folk tales, and it's based on one of them, but then adapted and rewritten and all that. And it is a wonderful film. Now, I tried to watch it on the night of Paddy's Day, but I got 10 minutes in, and then I was in the land of Nod, because I'd done myself in, and I then promised that I promised Captain Ronnie, I'm going to persevere with this. It wasn't the film's fault I fell asleep, it was me being pissed as a fart. So, I watched it again last night. Now, that's after Ireland won. Scotland won their game against Italy. Ireland won against England. So it was a fantastic day again. And I watched the matches in the pubs. So, yeah, it could have gone horribly awry again, couldn't it? But no, I came home. I am watching Darby O'Gill tonight. And I did. And I've got to be honest, I loved it. But it's a film that confused me. You know, I review movies a lot of the time, and I go through them scene by scene by scene, and I really, I put the background into it all. What did he mean by this? My interpretation of that, all the production trivia and anecdotes. I put it all in there, and all my opinions and ideas based upon it. Well, that's based on a framework of understanding the narrative flow of the film itself, and I can't work out how this film actually works. Because it begins, now I'm going to be wrong with this, and I am not going to go through it scene by scene. I will not be able to do so. It's very fresh to me, so. But you've got Darby O'Gill, in this little rural Emerald Isle township, name of which I've now forgotten. And they live in the lee of a mountain called, hang on a moment, Knocknashiga. Now, what Darby O'Gill will tell us is that, it's a haunted mountain, and it's a map painting and a miniature, and then a proper full-size set as well. But the leprechauns live in that mountain, and Darby O'Gill, played by, hang on a minute, Albert Sharp. He's an old guy. He's determined to get that pot of gold, He wants to outwit King Brian. King Brian is the leader of the leprechauns who lives in the mountain. The leprechauns are mischievous, cheeky little pranksters themselves. They don't want to be outwitted by a stupid human. So the battle of wills is sort of set in place. But what I don't get is that the film opens with Darby in the pub, and he's regaling all the locals about his tale to trying to capture King Brian. King Brian, who's played by, hang on a moment, Jimmy O'Day. And most of the cast are Irish, apart from Sean Connery, who is Scottish. But most of the cast are genuinely Irish, but they've obviously migrated to America, and they've been in a lot of movies. And cheers, York. By the way, that is actually Scotch. We've run out of all the Jamesons now. Now we're back on the Scotch again. So cheers, York. And he's telling the story of trying to capture King Brian, and then the events of the film will unfold. But in my head, I'm still thinking that this is a flashback. He's talking about meeting King Brian, and King Brian, he tries to capture him, and it's just, the little folk surround me right now. You can see them swarming everywhere. Look, they're everywhere, little buggers. The minute they got wind that I was going to talk about Darby O'Gill, that was it. They came out swarming around, the bastards were. And there's no coinage here. I use a debit card instead. No cash, no coins. You're screwed there, boys. And so he tries to capture King Brian. And of course, in so doing, well, I want me 3 wishes. Grant me 3 wishes. And so he does. He grants him 3 wishes, and he wishes for. I think King Brian says to him, like, health. And he goes, yeah, health. Pot of gold? Oh, a pot of gold, yeah. And then he said, can I have a pot of gold suddenly appears? Ooh, yeah. It's like putting his hands into all these coins. See the coins? Which I haven't got in this house. All the glitters. Whoa, fantastic stuff. And he says, well, can I have a pot of gold for so-and-so in the pub, and a pot of gold for another person, his other best friend or whatever. And like King Brian starts laughing. He's that means you've done a 4th wish. A 4th wish forfeits all wishes. So you've screwed up there, Darby. And Darby's like, oh. But then he's back in the pub and he's saying, well, I'm going to get that pot of gold. I'm going to outwit Brian. And but again, what I'm saying is, I'm not sure if the events of the film are a flashback as well. I don't know. Folks, I really don't know. Obvious copious amounts of whiskey and Guinness doesn't really help with the understanding of what is a very simple family fantasy fable. Oh, give me something complex and I'm there. I can analyse it, scrutinise it, and deliver all the dirt and the detail. The devil's in the detail. But something simple like this, and I'm like, I don't get it. What's happening? So, but Darby O'Gill is also the proprietor, the gameskeeper, the warden of Lord Fitzpatrick's estate. I got his name now. I don't know who plays him. Sorry about that. And but he's got a new man in tow. He's got Sean Connery. Michael McBride is a Dubliner with freakish, thick Colin Farrell style eyebrows. Because Sean Connery back in the day, they were some bushy brows, man. Jesus. And he's only young, and he's brought him in, and he's to take over from Darby. So Darby's like, well, my lord, what do I do with myself? You know, I can't do the Irish accent, by the way. You'll have noticed. And Fitzpatrick says, well, look, you've served me well. You can live in this house, the big estate that they've got there, with his daughter, played by Janet Moore. Let's have a look at that. Is it Janet Moore? Janet Munro, who plays Katie, his daughter, who's a hell of a lot younger than her father. And we don't know where the mother is, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But anyway, you can stay in there for another 2 weeks, and then you move out to the gatehouse. But we've made our home here. How will I tell Katie? That's his daughter. How will I tell Katie? Well, that's up to you, Darby, but, you know, Michael McBride's taken over, so, you know, make him feel welcome, make him feel at home, and you've got 2 weeks in that place. Now, 2 weeks, Darby, not 2 years, and then I want you moved out, and Michael McBride moves in there. Oh, so he's now got this conundrum. He doesn't want to tell Katie, his daughter. It's going to break her heart, because they lived and they were working with Lord Fitzpatrick. They've got this big, lovely palatial sort of mansion, well, comparatively to the people in the town and the village, and they've got some sort of social standing. So if he tells her, she'll lose that sort of social standing there, and won't be very happy. So he can't tell her. So now it becomes imperative that he's got to get that pot of gold off King Brian. I think that's his new motivation now. So I don't know. I think that bit in the pub, now it's all coming together, folks. I think that bit in the pub is actually, that's the flashback there. And the events are from that point onwards. Oh, it's got to be kind of obvious now, isn't it? Now I'm saying it out loud, it's dead obvious. Jesus Christ. And but Michael McBride, Sean Connery, he's a nice guy. He you know, he doesn't want to rock the boat. He's just come in and like, this is the new job for him. Oh, and it comes with living in that house. So you get a place in town, and he's like, no, I'll stay here, you know, and because he like wants to get to know Darby, or Darby invites him to stay there, because maybe Darby's got some other kind of plans to, you know, maybe scare him off. No, I don't know. The two of them get on pretty well, and clearly when you meet Katie, what's her name, Janet Munro, you've got this attraction between them, you know, the sparkle in their eyes and all that. And Janet Munro is not Irish, she's actually an English actress. But again, they have used genuine, you know, people from the British Isles to play people from the British Isles, primarily Ireland. So it kind of works. You haven't got all these sort of fake, bogus accents. Although I'll be honest, some of the accents, these people have been living in America for quite some time, so they're not quite as convincing. Purely because they've got the hints of that transatlantic drawl creeping in there. But it's very serviceable. So now, of course, Darby's determined, right, I've got to get that pot of gold. You've also got Pony Sugru, played by the great Kieran Moore. Kieran Moore was in Day of the Triffids, The Crack in the Earth. God, what else? So many other movies. 300 Spartans, he's in that. He plays Ephialtes, the one who betrays the Spartans in the great 300 Spartans, the original version. And he would go on to play Dull Knife in Custer of the West, where Robert Shaw plays Custer. a very bizarre telling of Custer's final days. I like the film, but boy is it spectacularly wrong in almost every single capacity. But you've got Kieran Moore playing this aggrieved but very proud Indian chief. Not Sitting Bull, not Crazy Horse, not the ones who were there that took out Custer, but Dull Knife did exist, but not in this capacity. But it's Kieran Moore playing him, and it's like, oh, that's bizarre. And he plays the town bully, called Pony, and his mother Sheila, who's got eyes like Marty Feldman. That eyes are like fucking out there, just bizarre looking things. She wants him to take over the job. Darby's too old. You first meet her. She goes into the house where Katie's doing the dishes or whatever. And so you need a man about the place, proper. My pony would be a lovely man to have around here, and he could do the job that Darby can't do anymore. That your father's too old to do those jobs. And this is what she's trying to do. But you meet Pony in the pub at the start while Darby's regaling them all with his tale of meeting King Brian. And he's like, go on then, Darby, you tell us about these leprechauns. I've never seen one. Did he have a forked tail and a cloven hoof and all that? And Darby's like, don't be silly. Leprechauns don't have that. And he's the town bigot, the town bully. But it's a Disney movie, so he ain't that bad. You know what I mean? But he's trying to drink. Oh, I'll have a whiskey. And because he's been taking a piss out of Darby, the tavern's proprietor, he's like, no, you can have a stout, a glass of stout, no more whiskey for you. I don't want you back again. And anyway, so you're setting up the parameters, who the good guys are, who the potential bad guy might be. And you've got the leprechauns as well, led by King Brian. So up goes Darby, up the hill of Knocknashiga again, on his faithful horse called Cleopatra. Now, Cleopatra's a bit of a strange creature, because Cleopatra is a bit of a shape-shifting thing as well, but again, it's Irish, so I don't know. I don't really understand. Is it a puka, something like that? A shape-shifting familiar that they can have? I don't know. The horse ain't bad, put it that way. But to get up there to these ruins, these sort of mystical ruins on top of this hill, this mountain, and it's great. It's just a studio set. But there's a well there, and the horse reacts badly to the well. And then with some kind of bizarre, almost primitive rotoscoping effect, the horse becomes like a black and white negative and all this. And you're like, what the hell's going on there? And Darby falls into the well. Ooh, and down and down and down he goes. Of course, the well is a portal to the well of the leprechauns, the little people. And he'll meet them there. And he isn't dashed to bits on the rocks that he lands on, funnily enough. And the two lieutenants of King Brian are there, one of whom is played by the great Jack McGowan. Jack McGowan was in Roman Polanski's Cul-de-sac and Dance of the Vampires, or The Fearless Vampire Hunters, or Pardon Me But My Teeth Are In Your Neck. Remember that one? Great movie. And he plays Professor Abrontius, who's the vampire killer. But he also moved on to play, he's not in this film much, I'll be honest, but he went on to play Bert Dennings, the horrific alcoholic racist film director in The Exorcist, the one whose body's found at the bottom of the steps with his head twisted around. And at parties in the Reagan household, he's so nasty, to the housekeeper, who's German. He's giving him loads of stick all the time. He's horrible. But in this, he's got a top hat and sort of straggly hair and sort of lots of tweeds and different colours and handkerchiefs and all that kind of thing. Because these leprechauns, don't go thinking Warwick Davis and all his prosthetic makeup from the Leprechaun series of movies. They're just little people, and they love dancing and singing and merriment and all that. So they take Darby through to meet King Brian. And there's King Brian amidst all the treasures that they've got there, including they've got a great big cannon there, which we got that from the Spanish Armada or something like that anyway. And they pretty much say to Darby, well, Darby, you're staying here now. You can't leave now. Darby's like, well, why ever not? Why can't I do that? What have I done wrong? Oh, you've done nothing wrong, Darby. But because they're not sinister. These little people. They're not horrible. They're just mischievous and they're pranksters. And in fact, if I was given the option to stay and party all day with those guys, that'd be it. And I think what Brian's saying to him is, I could be wrong about this. It's like, no, if you go back, you've got to tell Katie that she's going to leave the house, and you don't want to do that, so you best stay here. If that's the motivation, that's the plot. Well, anyway, but Darby's like, no, I've got to go, and he hatches a plan. Like, okay, is that a Stradivarius over there? Gets the violin, starts playing. Well, I don't know what the song is. Something about chasing a hare. Oh, the fox hunt or something. But of course, and I think King Brian's going like, Darby, don't play that, don't play that. But he starts playing it. What wonderful timing! And of course, King Brian and leprechauns like, well, all their little leprechaun horses suddenly appear, and they get on the horses. It's a charge. It's a fanciful fox hunt thing. And the wall, the cave walls just open up like that. And out they pour into little miniature things into the landscape. And you see them all riding past the life-size horse of Cleopatra, Darby's horse, standing there watching them all go like that. In fact, the horse does a double take. We've already got James Bond's already in this. But remember in the Roger Moore one, Moonraker, where the bird does the double take? You know, oh God. It's like that. It's that bad. And but Darby sees his chance, right? I'm going to get out of here. So he legs it and gets out, but he manages to capture Brian as well, because he's now thinking of a plan. Right, so he captures Brian, takes Brian back. If I get confused on this, I've only just seen it really, and it's the film has worked some kind of magic on me, because it is kind of like a fever dream, this movie. So I don't know, I might get a few things mixed up here. And but he captures Brian. And his plan is thus: if he can keep Brian till the sun rises, like the next day, then Brian loses all his magic. So you have to escape, to let Brian go. He's gonna have to say, well, I want me 3 wishes now. So he have to be awarded his 3 wishes. I think that's the plan. So he gets him back to their estate, you know, and the Fitzpatrick estate. And he starts, they've got Irish moonshine, poteen, and I've got to get me some of this stuff. I really have. I've got to learn how to make that sort of stuff. I take it it's made with potatoes. I take it. Got plenty of potatoes. Oh man. This big jug. And he's getting Brian drunk. And Brian's forever laughing and giving it loads. And they have these dueling limericks. And it's clever. They're both trying to make things rhyme and all that. And but he's just killing time, is Darby. And then finally, opens the curtains. Oh, you tricked me. It's the sunrise. And well, you give me my wishes then. Anyway, this is where I'm going to come really badly unstuck. He does get his 3 wishes. But what happens? You've got the romance between Michael McBride, Sean Connery, and Katie, Janet Monroe. But you've also got like this pony and his mum Sheila is trying to get him the position, get him the job. So Pony's lurking in the background, you know, this thug. Well, he's a very likeable thug, to be honest, you know. But this will culminate. I found the easy way out of this. This will culminate in Katie gets to find out about losing the house and her dad losing the job, and then she goes ballistic at Michael McBride and her dad, and she runs away because Cleopatra has a habit, the horse, of breaking free, and Cleopatra breaks free and charges up on a stormy night up to Knocknashiga. So Katie runs after it. Now in the meantime, Darby has tried to show Brian to Michael, look, I really do have the king of leprechauns here, King Brian. Oh, show me in there. So he lets him out of this bag. I think he's got him in a bag or something, Hessian sack. And all we see is a jackrabbit running around. And like, they get the rabbit back. And like, Darby saying to him, what? I made a wish so that he could see you. I think Brian says like, oh, he can see me, but he sees me as a rabbit, you know. So there's all little bits of trickery and stuff like that. But anyway, Casey's run up to the mountain now, and like, but Casey, it's a big stormy night and all this, like, so, and they're all upset that she's upset and found out the hard way about what's happening, what their future fortunes are going to be, or rather lack of. And doesn't sound too bad actually, because I think Lord Fitzpatrick was going to let him still live on the land in a nice dwelling, a nice enough dwelling, and he could retire. He'd pay him, like, you know, a salary, so a pension. So what was his fucking problem? You know, he wants his pot of gold. That's what he wants. And so they leg it up there after it, but they find that you hear that? That's the wailing of the banshee. They hear the banshee up there, and you will see the banshee, and they will encounter this banshee at the top of the mountain. Sean Connery doesn't go, does he? Michael McBride stays back, and he gets clubbed on the back of the head by Pony and knocked out. And Pony leaves him propped up at Lord Fitzpatrick's place, and he covers him in like whiskey and stuff. So it looks like he's completely pissed as a fart and knocked himself out, and he's completely drenched and sozzled. So he won't get the job, but I will. That's his plan. In the meantime, Katie has been found by Darby on top of the mountain, but she's collapsed, and she's got, what has she got? Some kind of fever? Can't remember now, but she's dying. She's dying. And the Banshee's waiting. And the Banshee, like the effect for Cleopatra when it becomes like this shape-shifting, reverse negative type creature, the Banshee comes floating down from the summit. Woo! All like this. Like that. Pretty good that, wasn't it? Woo! And it's just like this, I don't know. Think the angels at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they look like angels initially, and then suddenly that one goes and transforms. That's what you get here. So, and it's coming down after Darby, so he manages to get what's her face, his daughter, back home, but she's dying, you know. And the Banshee summons the death carriage, which you will see going through the clouds. This death carriage and these black horses coming through the clouds. Again, a very primitive effect, just a photo-optical effect. And but Darby sees it as a crashing rainstorm now. And Darby's no, because it's coming for Katie, his daughter, because she's died. And the Banshee has summoned this to come and collect her soul. So Brian suddenly appears again, King Brian. And like, my final wish, I forgot what his other two were now. He says, for my final wish, his third wish, right? He says, I want to swap places with Katie. And Brian's like, you sure you want to do that? I want to do that, yeah. So the carriage arrives on the ground. I think the Banshee opens the door for him. Get your ass in there, Darby. And so Darby gets in, door shuts, and he's drenched in rain, and he's just sitting on the back seat of the coach, and off it goes. And it's like, oh no, he sacrificed himself. And then King Brian suddenly appears beside him. Darby, you know, are you sure you don't want any further wishes? And like, Darby's all like, it's just so morose now. I lost everything, and I've had to give up my life now just to save my daughter, and everything I plotted and schemed and planned, none of it's come to fruition. He says, yes, Brian, I'd like to spend eternity with you. And suddenly King Brian just goes, you've made a fourth wish. And the fourth wish forfeits all. So everything that's happened is okay. They take him back. You've got your life back. Your daughter's going to live. And we're still friends. You and the leprechauns. We've played a few games, a few pranks on each other, but we're still mates and all that. Michael McBride, Sean Connery, is going to take your job, but doesn't matter. He's going to marry your daughter, so you're all going to be together, and everyone's going to be happy. There you go. Pick the bones out of that. I honestly don't know if I got any of that right. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Mum. Ooh, that's a bit of a meaty swig there. And it's great. It is great. in typical sort of Irish folklore fashion, it's whimsical and it is slightly unhinged, and that's because of the characters. The characters are all, like, you're all in it for yourselves. You're all trying to get something out of it. You're all on the take, in a way. Pony, initially, that's not Cleopatra the horse. That's Pony, the thug, Kieran Moore. Oh, I've missed a bit out. Jesus fucking Christ! I've missed probably the best bit out. They have a fight. They have a fight in the pub. At the end, Sean Connery and Kieran Moore have a fight. Now, of course, Sean Connery was a boxer. He was pugilistic. And some of the best scenes in James Bond have been his fist fights with the likes of Robert Shaw in From Russia with Love, and with Peter, whatever his name is, in the lift in Diamonds Are Forever. The otherwise lackluster Diamonds Are Forever. But a great fight in that lift with lots of breaking glass and real good hard punches. Well, Pony does a few, blows, and Sean Connery really makes the impact. It's a use certificate movie, it's for kids, but his head goes back, bluff, like that, and his hair flicks around, and then bushy eyebrows get all scrunched up. Like, he sells the fact he's been smacked in the face, but he will come up and bang, 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 bang. He'll take down Pony, and everyone's happy. I can't believe I missed that bit out. It's one of the best bits in the movie. But as I say, everyone's on the take, and none more so than King Brian and the leprechauns. Now, the leprechauns, they're not really frightening in any capacity whatsoever. They are just fun-loving little people. None of them look demonic. None of them are weird or wizened or crazy. They're just little tiny people, and they're legging about and having fun. And for the majority of the movie, you only see one, and that's King Brian. So even the great Jack McGowan, you only see him a couple of times in it. The other effects, really, the death carriage and the banshee. It's pretty much it. Peter Ellenshaw did the special effects for this. Now, Peter Ellenshaw, British again, but moved to Hollywood and worked almost exclusively for Disney. Although he did do, I think, a film for Fox. I think he did Jane Eyre for Fox. But he worked for Powell and Pressburger, A Matter of Life and Death, The Red Shoes, and one of my favourites, Black Narcissus, because he was a genius at matte paintings. Now, you look at Black Narcissus, the perilous drop from the nunnery on this big, huge mountain down into the valleys and the mountains in the background. Well, he created all of that. He's wonderful. He would then move up the ranks of Disney into more special effects, doing miniatures and actual visual effects as well, culminating perhaps in the likes of The Black Hole, which is why Maximilian is over there somewhere, because he, Peter Ellenshaw, redesigned the robots, Vincent and Old Bob, and the robot Sentries and Maximilian, and did a lot of miniatures and matte paintings for The Black Hole. I think his last film that he did was Dick Tracy, the Warren Beatty Dick Tracy. Not a great film, but but his work is showcased in there. So he's wonderful. Also the director, Robert Stevenson, not Robert Louis Stevenson, of course, did Bedknobs and Broomsticks and, oh God, what else? The Love Bug, Herbie Rides Again, and a slew of Disney movies. You can tell that this movie is completely from the Walt Disney stable. It's live action stable. All the cast and all the crew and all the special effects people and the technicians are part of the Walt Disney family, and they would move from job to job to job, and it has that Disney luster to it as well. I think I said in the previous video when I was announcing I was going to do this, the old Disney film stock, Kodak, whatever it was, it has, even when it's been used for animation, all the colours are gaudy and bright and deep and lush and just so painterly. But that's animation. But even when it comes to the live action, all your RGB, your red, green, blue are thick and vibrant. It looks like watercolours have been decorated all across the screen, filling the frame. It's beautiful. Now, and that, oh God, what's it called again? Knock na Shiga, that hill. You always see it like from one angle, and the path winding up to it. And it's a horrible looking hill anyway, and you can see the ruins on the top of it. But that's a miniature with a matte painting as well. And there's also mist around it as well, which really adds to it. So it has got a spooky, spectral feel to it. But when you go up there, it's actually a set as well. But it still looks good. I'd want to see more of it. I want to see more of the leprechaun world beneath the mountain. You only see like a couple of caves, a vast cavern, and a couple of tunnels, and that's it. That is really it. You want to see more of that, and I wish you had done. But the film is about Darby and his plan, and Darby and his battle of wits with King Brian. And I think the reason my kids love it so much is because you can tell they're not enemies. King Brian and Darby are not trying to kill each other. I want your pot of gold. Well, you've got to earn your pot of gold, haven't you, Darby? And the leprechauns love the game, you know. It's all tricks and pranks and trying to outwit each other. Even just with limericks, it's perfect. It's very, very Irish, of course. And it works in that capacity. So I think kids love it because it's witty wordplay. And everyone's got a kind of gleam in their eye and like a kind of mischievous grin on their faces. It's like, well, kids, how can I get away with this? What can I do next? How can I get that bar of chocolate I've been told I can't have? I'm going to pretend to do all the jobs around the house for mum. You know, it's all that sort of thing, all the machinations, and it works superbly. The romance between Sean Connery and Janet Monroe, it's very twee, you know. There's nothing to it. They actually sing, like, what was it, like Pretty Irish Girl or something like that. They're on a horse and carriage and they sing together. And it actually is Sean Connery and Janet Monroe singing. They had other people apparently to sing that bit. And then in the end, they dubbed it over with the original actors' voices. And I do believe that Sean Connery released a single of it as well. I think. So, but yeah, I mean, he sings in Doctor No as well, doesn't he? Underneath the mango tree, my honey and me. Cheers, Sean. And you've got the score. The score's playing right now by what's his name? Oscar Wallace. Oliver Wallace, even. And it's great. I mean, you're hearing the bells ringing, and it's all like fiddle-dee-dee stuff going on as well. But you have menace, and you know that hill again. And whenever there's all like ghostly wailings going on, like, and the banshee and the death carriage. It's great. There's lots of flavour to it, and it's a harmless yet infectious movie. I've seen it once, and then I think I saw 10 minutes of it the first time around, and quite clearly from this review, I need to watch the fucking thing again. And I watch it again and I go, oh my God. Oh, that, and I forgot about that bit. Oh God, yeah. But take it from me, folks. It's a load of fun. It's harmless, it's innocent, but it's got a little tiny edge to it, you know, because, you know, the threat of the leprechauns. But and you've got and great performances as well. Let's say, like, what's his name? As Jimmy O'Day as King Brian. He's having an absolute ball. Albert Sharp as Darby is outstanding. Oh, the juxtaposition of the little people in the same shot as the full-size people works pretty well. In fact, it works so well it does not draw attention to itself. So you're not sitting there thinking like, oh God, you can see the matte lines on that. Oh, they superimpose that badly. You don't even think about it. It doesn't make you think, wow, that's dead convincing. It just happens, and you're just totally okay with it. It's not like, it's not glaringly obvious, and it's not bad, it's not great. It just works perfectly. So you can't say fairer than that, can you? See, some of the floaty stuff, the death carriage, and the banshee especially, and the horse when Cleopatra does its weird. I don't know what that's about. It's just momentarily possessed. I don't know. But the horse clearly works for Darby, because when they're trying to keep King Brian away from realising it's sunlight, he makes the horse go to sleep. You know, he's kind of winking over at Cleopatra. Cleopatra goes, oh, the horse, and like leans down, goes to sleep. In other words, trying to get him to go to sleep as well, get him pissed and get him to shut his eyes, and then we'll open the curtains. You've lost all your powers. Now, I'd love to see how that relationship would develop in another movie. Darby O'Gill Part 2, you know, which they could have done it. He'd still be after something or other. He might still need the help of King Brian. I'm surprised it didn't actually happen. Then again, I don't think the film was a big success. I think the film did okay. But during that time, you know, the 50s and into the 60s, Disney was piling movies out. Every other week was another Disney production. So, and some, you know, fared a lot better than others, like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Bedknobs and Broomsticks and all this, you know, and so many others. God, the list goes on. But so I think this one kind of just snuck out and then really didn't do a great deal. But it became a fan favourite of Irish people and little people. Cheers to all the rest of us little people. And remember, 3 wishes, no more. Don't go for 4 because you forfeit them all. That was almost a limerick there, wasn't it? And of course this, I just threw this in as a little extra musical bonus. This is the end titles of Carter Burwell's score for the phenomenal Coen Brothers movie, Miller's Crossing. One day I will go through that movie properly with you guys. Because Miller's Crossing, I think, it is my favourite gangster movie. And that, forget Goodfellas, Godfather, forget Scarface, forget Carlito's Way. This, Miller's Crossing, is excellence in every single way. The best Coen Brothers movie, and now no one ever talks about it, but I think brilliant Albert Finney, Gabriel Byrne. Oh Jesus, it's to die for. Almost every single line is delicious and clever and insightful and intelligent and very, very witty. The violence is off the scale when it happens, and you've got every character is indelibly etched. You're, oh God, I've got to watch it now. That's it, I'm sold. Miller's Crossing, I'm heading your way. Listen to this though. Jesus. So folks, there is the start of our little Irish film festival. Could we put Miller's Crossing in there because they are Irish gangsters who are going up against Italian gangsters, with John Polito as Johnny Casper, or Johnny Casparo. It is. And you got the great John Turturro's in there as well. And Steve Buscemi, or Steve Buscemi, however you pronounce it. Fantastic. We drifted, haven't we, from Darby O'Gill and the Little People to Miller's Crossing. I don't think they'll mind too much. Folks, I have been over Shelby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this evergreen in between time, please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic, and I am going to see you all. I'm hoping there's a pot of gold at the end of this. Oh, those pesky little people. Haters! And may the luck of the Irish be with you.